What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand spanking new episode of Hoops All In. As always, I'm your host, Worlds Francois, with my co-host Keith Bazin, with the fresh new haircut. Keith, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. Just right after the last games of the night, and it's crazy. Another great season, regular season is over, and we got a lot to go through. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely got a lot to go through. Another great season in the books. The 2024-2025 season is officially done and over with. And now we are in post-season mode. But if you guys are new, don't forget to check us out on our social at Hoops All In on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And check out Keith's Hoops All In YouTube channel at Keith HAI. He does some good work over there. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So hopefully this won't be a very, very long, lengthy episode. We'll do our best to keep it not too long. But yeah, a lot of stuff as we head towards the playoffs. But let's first talk about the breaking news that shocked the NBA world. The Denver Nuggets decided to have a major coaching change, firing their 10-year head coach and Mike Malone, who won them a championship back in 2023, just 5 games before the regular season. But yeah, this shed shockwaves around. It's not like the Denver Nuggets were in turmoil. It's not like they were struggling. They were a top four, top five team in the West, and they just decided to pull the plug on Coach Malone. So, Keith, what do you think about the Denver Nuggets shockingly and surprisingly getting rid of their head coach who won them a championship just 2 years ago?
man, we thought the Taylor Jenkins firing was out of the blue and like a wild one. I mean, this beats it by a good mile. Again, the Nuggets won a ring not even 2 full years ago. Um, and they did it pretty, easily against the Miami Heat. But it was just it's just weird again, you said 3 to 5 games before the playoffs, and just another good head coach fired. And Mike Malone, just like for Taylor Jenkins, the most winningest head coach for the Denver Nuggets, fired. We did see that, I think, like not even 30 minutes later, that the Denver Nuggets also fired their GM, Calvin Nat, I think his name is. Um,
Something
and
like that, yeah.
they it's been known that over the past few years they have butted heads, those two, between Mike Malone and Calvin Nat, that Calvin Nat is being one of those, GMs and owners of, hey,
Uh,
I wanted to save money.
mhm.
What was that?
Calvin Booth is his name.
Calvin
Sorry.
Booth.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got that from. Calvin Booth. Is he's wanted to save money. That's why they lost guys like Bruce Brown after the championship run. They lost KCP last off season, and and then Mike Malone obviously wanted to keep these guys because we want to keep our championship window open because we have the best player in the league. But and then obviously that didn't work, and I guess that this was a thing that, like the Memphis Grizzlies firing, that they, I guess, had planned to do, and they just waited for an opportunity to do it, and they did it, even though it might have been one of the worst timings to do it, because now the Denver Nuggets are going into the playoffs as a 4 seed with a first round matchup. They will be, the home team without the a head coach, and who was one of the better head coaches in the league. I mean, like, he's
Mhm.
going to get picked up immediately next off season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just again, I don't really know, other than the butting head thing, why you would maybe pick one of them. Fire the GM, keep Mike Malone, or vice versa. But I don't know.
Yeah, this was definitely a very, very shocking fire, especially you don't fire a head coach with roughly 5 games left to go before the end of the season and before the playoff starts. It's not like, again, I said it in the beginning, it's not like the Denver Nuggets were struggling. It's not like this team had a massive turmoil during the season. They were fourth in the Western Conference. They have a guy who's averaging a freaking triple double during the season. And on top of that, two out of their three best players were currently injured, and he had you guys sitting a top four seed in the West. So Mike Malone was doing an outstanding, fantastic job. And then for all of a sudden, for Mr. Kroenke, who's the owner of the Denver Nuggets, to pull the plug is very, very shocking. He is not an owner who suddenly fires head coaches, because Mike Malone was there for 10 years. I think he was the third or fourth longest tenured coach behind obviously Eric Spoelstra, Greg Popovich, and Steve Kerr from the Warriors. But this move makes no sense. 2 years removed from winning a championship, your first ever championship for the franchise, and this how you treat the man. I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. There were rumors and reports, as you just mentioned, that maybe there was some butting heads between him and the GM. But then, if that's the case, you let the GM go. And this is where I also wanted to kind of throw that question out there. Could possibly Jokic maybe have signed off all this? Because especially in today's NBA, where the players rule the league, obviously Jokic in the press conference said, Kroenke called him and said that this decision that we're making, it's final. If I'm Jokic like, hold on, wait a minute, you can't do this because we won a championship with this guy. And Jokic at that point kind of input your power a little bit, because this is the same Jokic who went to the front office and said, hey, I want Russell Westbrook. And they acquiesced and they got Russell Westbrook because he wanted them to. So I believe he could have had something to say with Mr. Kroenke before he officially told Mike Malone that he was relieved of his duties. But, again, it's very, very disrespectful. I don't know what's going on in today's NBA where you see these championship coaches who won Coach of the Year a year two ago, all of a sudden not have a job. It makes no sense. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. But Mike Malone will not be employed for very much longer, because obviously, as always, with every end of season, there's going to be a team that's going to fire their head coach, and they're going to be looking to fill a vacancy. And he should be the first name on their list because his resume speaks for himself. He has a championship. He's the most winning head coach in Denver Nuggets history. About a 53% win percent. No, excuse me, 58 or 59, something like that, win percentage. So he knows what it takes to win at the highest level. And he's a good player development coach too, because look what he did with Jokic. Jokic was a second round 45th pick, stuck with him, say, hey, Jokic, this is what you need to do to improve your game. And now he's turned into arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest center of all time. So he won't be fired. He won't be out of a job for much too long.
Yeah, I with the Jokic thing, I don't know if we honestly will ever know how Jokic feels about this, because Jokic doesn't mess with the media like that, like a lot, he just isn't on the microphone a lot. But again, it will be something that comes up a lot, I assume. So maybe he will put out an answer at some point. But a lot of what I found out about this is from me hearing it through other people. But I guess Mike Malone would favor Jokic and Murray, even if they did something wrong, and then he would still go out at the other players. Which again, you think about it, sort of makes sense. I mean, your two best players, you don't hold as high, I guess. They don't get as much of the blame because they're the two better players. But honestly, you criticize someone for a loss, you probably should be criticizing everybody, no matter if it's Jokic or Zeke Naji or DeAndre Jordan on the bench. Everyone in between. So a lot of the locker room didn't respect him for that anymore. He also wanted to play, more veteran players like Russell Westbrook, which is why they signed him. And their owners and GM also wanted them to play their young guys like Christian Brown more, who had a pretty good season this year, or Julian Strother, Jalen Pitt, guys that we don't the casual fan just doesn't know a lot about because they're not very developed. And they want the ownership wants them to play over guys like Westbrook, to close the game or stuff like that. So it was just a lot of butting heads, I think. And again, I guess again, they cleared the house, they got rid of the two problems, but at what cost, I guess, so.
And this is the thing I gotta say too, especially for all those people. I saw videos out there for people saying, "Well, look, Russell Westbrook got another coach fired because now there's been rumors out there and reports that Westbrook's future with the Nuggets is now uncertain with Mike Malone and Calvin Booth being fired." And for
Yeah.
anybody who's putting this blame on Westbrook, you're a stupid fucking idiot. Okay,
Yeah.
where first of all, this is the same Russell Westbrook who, when Jamal Murray went down, stepped up And there was a couple games where he averaged triple doubles during Murray's absence. So if Westbrook didn't step into the starting lineup, kind of went back to the old Westbrook he was when he was playing with OKC Thunder,
Mhm.
keep your team elevated because your starting point guard was hobbled with the hamstring or ankle injury. You guys should be thinking that, man, because instead of you guys being a top 4 seed in the Western Conference, you guys would have been a playing team, but now you guys are a top 4 seed in the Western Conference thanks to Russell
Yeah.
Westbrook. So I hate the Westbrook slander. To me is utterly ridiculous. You have those trolls on the internet and say, "Well, look, Westbrook's fault." Let's be like, shut the
Yeah.
hell up. Don't know shit about basketball. But I just wanted to say that to defend
Yeah.
that man's name.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because you couldn't tell me that I 100% right, Russ has bounced around from teams recently, and obviously he's gotten worse as a player. That's what happens. But I fully believe that he was going to resign. I don't know I don't know if he will be on this team next year. Because he signed for relatively cheap. I think he was bought out, I'm pretty sure. So
Mhm.
um yeah, that's a good point. I definitely don't think it's not Westbrook's fault because why would it be?
Yeah.
It's not like Westbrook has any say in what, especially for the Nuggets, it would be more of like if anything like Jokic or Murray if they called for Mike Malone's name. But um I also saw a thing that in the past 10 years there are only two coaches that still have a job from their championship years. Joe Mazzulla, Steve Kerr, only two coaches that are still with their team. Now,
Crazy.
granted, again, Joe Mazzulla was not even a year ago, so that would make sense. But I mean, and obviously Steve Kerr is one of the more winningest coaches in recent history. But like you think like Budenholzer from the Bucks, Frank Vogel from the Lakers. Um, I mean, it just and then obviously you go back older, it kind of makes sense because coaches don't normally stay around with teams for probably more than 5 years, but like it's still just like it's so crazy that just the coach turnaround. Like we always talk about roster turnaround in the NBA, but the coach turnaround in the NBA is crazy too. So,
Yeah. Oh, for real.
we'll see if that impacts the Nuggets too much going into the playoffs. But we'll see. All right, we're gonna go on to our final awards for the 2025 regular season. I believe we did do this at one point earlier in the season, kind of, predicting who we think would be here for all of our individual and team awards. But now that all 82 games have been played, we're gonna say who we think should win each award or be a part of each award for every award right now.
Mhm.
Shall we start off with the big one? This is one we've talked about over multiple episodes recently. MVP. I believe I have said it on here that I would be just fine if they did somehow do the dual MVP thing. Um, Jason Kidd and Grant Hill did do a dual Rookie of the Year in I think 1995 because they got the same amount of votes. That's a rare thing. I don't think it's going to happen. But if you just had to pick one, my vote is Shea. Um, is that what you have?
Yeah, I got Shea too, and I think this is just kind of a makeup award because a lot of fans like myself, and probably you, feel that Shea got robbed last year, which he most likely did.
Yeah.
Especially too, we didn't see the Oklahoma City Thunder being that good of a team last year, and they continued their success this year, being the number 1 seed in the West. And Shea just upped up his points per game, scoring almost 33 points a game he averaged throughout the entire season. That is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
So last year, Shea should have won. If they gave it to Shea last year, easily it would have been Jokic because the numbers he's putting up this year is utterly 2K-ish. But this is going to
Mhm.
be makeup award. So we're both in agreement on Shea deserves MVP for him being robbed a
Yeah.
year ago.
And I mean, again, I'll before I get to what I'm gonna say, my second for MVP, Jokic, obviously. Third is
Mhm.
Giannis.
Agree.
All right. Those two guys up front, Shea and Jokic, are both having historic seasons for in their own respective way. It just came out Jokic is the first center to ever average a triple double and only the third player ever to average a triple double in a season. Behind Westbrook did it 4 times, and then Oscar Robertson did it once. So historic right there. He averaged almost 30 points a game for Jokic, but Shea, again, like you said, almost 33 points per game, which is the most in Oklahoma City Thunder history. He is averaging the most points on a 65 win or above team ever in NBA history. And which, again, I think, MVP, like we've talked about this before, it's not just stats and it's not just team based, but when you have two historic seasons stat wise between Shea and Jokic, and you look at the team, and the Oklahoma City Thunder have 68 wins on the season, which would put them as tied for the fifth most wins in NBA history in a season. Obviously, the Warriors did at 73, the Bulls did 72. And I think there's a Philly, LA, and Boston year in there that's like 69 to 68 wins that they're tied with. But 68 wins puts them as one of the best regular season teams of all time.
Crazy.
They have one of the best defenses of all time in a offensive primary league where like offense is everything. We're scoring the most points in for most teams. The 3-pointers is the most this season than it's been in every other year, obviously. And I mean, again, just looking at their roster, it's one of the youngest rosters in the league, but it also doesn't tell the story about how Chet missed almost 2 months of the season. Hartenstein missed, a while in the beginning of the season. They even lost J-Dub for a while. But they're still tied for the fifth most wins in NBA history. So it's just, I don't know how you don't give it to Shea. I do agree that like this whole year it's been bouncing back and forth. There's been times where I thought it was Jokic, but most of the time I've been on Team Shea. So that's all I have to say with them. And even Giannis, he's having his best season, but it's just unfortunate because the two above them are having historic seasons. So I don't know if you have anything else to say about MVP, any of those three, but
no, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, 3 great players who have 3 historic seasons. You mentioned Oklahoma City Thunder's win 68 wins, 14 losses. That's a winning percentage of 83%. So they won 80. So pretty much they won 83 out of their 100 games for you guys to get the percentages and easily. But that's insane. But yeah, I mean, listen, if Shea won it, deservedly won it last year, which you got robbed, I think Jokic will be a clear one-away favorite. But the fact that Shea's putting up these numbers, I think he had like the most 50 points per game this season, the most 40 points per game this season, and the fact that this team has just been straight dominant, you have to give it to him. It's a no-brainer. It belongs to Shea.
Yeah. And I mean, again, there were other guys in the league that, had great seasons too behind those 3. But again, I don't think anyone tops those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might say, Donovan Mitchell, because the Cavs are a 64-win team, Tatum or LeBron or something like that. But again, I don't think any of those 3 or anyone else matches what those 3 have done this year. And again, I have nothing else. It's just an insane year for the MVP race this year. So, next we'll do Defensive Player of the Year. In order, I have Evan Mobley as 1. I think Evan Mobley is winning my Defensive Player of the Year this year. Dyson Daniels is my 2, and Amen Thompson is my 3.
Okay, I didn't do the order. I know I had Evan Mobley as well. I kind of was flipping back and forth between him and Zubac because Zubac is averaging about I believe it's about a block a game, and Zubac is having a career year all across the board. So he was strong consideration for me. But again, goes to the impact of Evan Mobley. You see him going out there guarding perimeter defenders, guards, small forwards. He can switch. He's a very tall, lengthy center. So I'm gonna give the edge to Evan Mobley for a Defensive Player of the Year as well. I don't know where these people are getting this fucking that Draymond Green is now the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he said it on his show.
Yeah, I don't know, but even before he said it, I saw it on all these like FanDuel, DraftKings saying, "Oh, Draymond Green is now minus 400 to win Defensive Player of the Year." Like, where the fuck did this come from?
He does have the best. I don't know I don't know what the stat is, but it's one of the like super meaningful defensive stats, like maybe it's defensive rating or something. He's number one. So like he very well could be, but yeah, I agree. He came out of nowhere. And defensive, all these awards for me are the whole season
Yeah,
awards. Like, sure, he's been him and Jimmy Butler and the Warriors have been great since the trade deadline, but we're gonna just skip out in the first 5 months of the season
yeah.
when he wasn't even considered. So yeah, that's why he's not in my top three for
And let's
defensive
be
player.
real. If Wemby didn't get hurt, Wemby would have been the clear running away
Right,
favorite for
of
defensive player of the
course.
year. But the fact that he got hurt, now we have to look for de facto lower tier. So
Right, of
that's what
course.
it is.
Yeah, and again, with all these awards, we are doing the 65 game minimum requirement, so that's why you won't see, like he just said, Wemby for defensive player or anyone. If someone is missing from an all NBA team or something, it's probably because they didn't meet the requirement. So, but yeah, Evan Mobley and the Cavs, I guess they haven't been as great in the past, few weeks. They've lost a bunch of games, and for their standard, they lost a bunch, and it hasn't been as standout. But I think Evan Mobley's been second or third even before Wemby went down. And then I gave a lot of love to the guards too with Dyson Daniels. He's the first player this century to average over 3 steals in a season. Um, I think he finished the year with 3.1, and obviously the most deflections in the league by far. And then Amen Thompson for what he brought to the Houston Rockets for them to be a 2 seed. I don't think people were expecting it in year two, and also because with what he has done, some people are like, is Amen Thompson the most valuable player for the Houston Rockets when they have a guy in Sengun who just made his first All-Star appearance,
Yeah.
a bucket in Jalen Green, like it's really up in the air because of what he does, stealing wise, blocking wise, guarding the best player, it just there's a lot that and I believe Houston was the game that Curry just had like 3 points against or something a few games ago too. So
Yeah, they locked him down.
yeah. So um you have anything else for defensive player of the year?
No, I'm gonna go with Mobley. If they don't give it to Mobley, I think Zubac deserves it as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yes, that's right. I agree. Yeah, he's been great too. I think again he has been the best drop coverage rim protector in the league. Over guys like Rudy Gobert, who's dominated that stat for years. And he's had a big jump as well, so I'm not mad at that.
Mhm.
Rookie of the year. There was a lot of people were talking about this draft class before they even stepped on the court about, oh hey, everyone's weak or everyone is, there's no star, but I think this rookie class has been pretty entertaining. The fact that there isn't like a Paolo, a certified guy that we can tell already will be an all-star or a superstar. And we got a lot of fluctuating during the season about who should win this award. Um, I ultimately ended up with Stephon Castle being my rookie of the year.
Of course.
Um, Zachary Risachet was my second, and then Alex Sarr was my third. Castle I averaged like 14, 3 and 3-ish. And what he even since Wemby and De'Aaron went down, his load has been so much of what he's had to do in San Antonio. But I think with what he's done defensively and what he's shown as being like a lead or an off guard in San Antonio, I think is going to be big time when they are ultimately a couple years down the road and they're trying to compete for real. So
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I also did have Stephon Castle as my rookie of the year. For almost 15 points a game, 14.6, 3.5 rebounds, 4 assists. Last 10 games, man, average almost 19 points, 7 assists, and shooting 68% from the free throw line,
mhm.
27% from three. I was always say the 3-point shot is something that he has to
Yeah.
improve on
But it
next
looks like
year.
it looks like he can improve on it. I don't think that's gonna stay like that forever.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that, but I think that's something that he'll definitely work on in the off season.
Mhm.
But yes, Stephon Castle has just been consistent throughout this entire rookie class. As you mentioned again, this rookie class was not the strongest. It was arguably, well, a lot of insiders and scouts call this the weakest draft class in a while. So I didn't, probably my name besides 2, 3 names that continuously popped up was like you mentioned, Castle, maybe Risa Shar. But other than that, yeah, I got Castle as a runaway favorite.
Yeah, I think again, earlier in this season, we saw some Jalen Wells to start off. Risa Shea he's been pretty good as of recently. I mean, for being a number one pick, he just had like a near 40-point game.
Mhm.
I think he had 38. He's had some games where it's like 30 points on like 3 dribbles or something like that. Like
Sheesh.
he's had and his efficiency is like definitely better than like what a Stephon Castle has been. But I
Mhm.
think Rookie of the Year is one of those awards where you don't really pay too much attention to efficiency because they're a lot of these guys are 19, 20-year olds coming into the league, and they're in new situations and they don't really know who they are as players yet. So I think, even though, like, again, Castle's efficiency wasn't the greatest, one, again, we all knew he wasn't going to be a great jump shooter when he came into the league. And two, again, he's had to do a lot since De'Aaron and Wemby went down. He's really been like the main guy over there, like especially when like Devin Vassell has been hurt. Chris Paul, you can't say that Chris Paul, the first player in year 20 or later to play all 82 games in a season. So shout out to Chris Paul for still holding it down over there. But um, I mean, again, 2 back-to-back Rookie of the Years in San Antonio, and they're gonna get at least 2 more lottery picks this year. So
Imagine they fuck around, they get
they jump to
they
top
get
3,
flag.
man. Oh man, yeah. If they jump to number 1, then it might be over for the league, because if you have De'Aaron, you have Castle, like Vassell, Cooper Flag, and oh man, defensively that lineup would be gross
Yo.
too. But yeah, I mean, because they also will get the Hawks pick this year too, I believe.
Yeah, they
So,
would.
um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's been fun, even though, again, I agree, the rookie class, again, there's not a name that jumps off the page when you just look at it, but it's only their first year. You got to give them time. You can't be doing all this in their first year. You can't even be doing it in their second or third year. In my, like, opinion, you got to give it so much time. Like, it's just so. Most improved player. You want to go first? Who you got?
Yeah, I think for me, I got Norman Powell as the most improved player. 31, going to be 32 soon. It's kind of rare. We never see an older 9-year vet
Yeah.
in the NBA win most improved player, but he's improved in every statistical category this year. He's
Mhm.
up 8 points per game from last year. He's averaging one more rebound and one more assist. And I also look at this as well. He's an impact player. Who did they say, hey, needs to step up once when Kawhi Leonard went down with injury and was not able to start the beginning of the season? Obviously, James Harden, but Norman Powell was the second on the team in points per game. He is top 25 this year. I believe he's averaging about 21.9, so pretty much 22 points per game. He was top 25 in points per game. And this dude as well has helped the Clippers secure a playoff spot. The Clippers
Yeah.
secured the number 5th seed. Now, a lot of people are going to say, Dyson Daniels, which I get. But again, I look at impact. One team, the Clippers, are a playing team. The other team, the Hawks, in which Dyson Daniels plays for, are a playoff team. Excuse me. The Clippers are a playoff team. The other team, the Hawks, are a play-in team. So
Mhm.
there's a difference. So for him, for Dyson, for Norman Powell, impact again, improving every statistical category and having a jump of 8 points per game from last year to this year, as well as averaging one more rebound, one more assist, and he helped the Clippers secure a playoff spot compared to Dyson Daniels helped the Hawks secure a playing spot. Got to give it to my man Norman Powell.
This is where we've been agreeing on every award so far, but this is where that ends. Norman
Mm,
Powell, I put at my 2. It was so hard. I ultimately did end up going with Dyson Daniels, though. I agree with everything you said. It's gonna be such a cool thing if Norman Powell does win at, like, what 32 you said he is.
almost
Um
32. Yep.
Yeah, to win, especially since he has improved so much, especially with, the Clippers losing Paul George. Kawhi hadn't been playing a lot up until recently, so I love that. But Dyson Daniels, I
Mhm.
mean, for me, he jumped over 8 points per game. He jumped over a steal and a half. He went from 1.4 steals to obviously the three this year. He jumped 2 rebounds, 2 assists. His efficiency has jumped about 0.5%, and his 3-point shooting, he's even just under league average, which I think will just improve to get better. And Dyson Daniels is like he's one of the best defenders in the league, but he's on an Atlanta Hawks team that is not a good defensive team, especially when you have Trey Young at the head of that, who is probably a top 3 worst defender in the league based on just size and just based on how tall and big Trey Young is to his ability. Uh, and even like their centers, I mean, Clint Capella was good, but he doesn't even necessarily start all the time over there. It's been like a Kongwu. They've got Risa Shea playing a lot, so they're not the greatest defensive team over there. But what Dyson Daniels did for the Hawks team, being one of the most elite defenders at the guard position, um, is what ultimately made me give it to him, even though I do think Norman Powell could win it as well this year. But my third guy was Austin Reeves. Austin
Ooh.
Reeves took a jump, whether the numbers supported or not. You look and you see he is so much more confident. He is, I believe, the Lakers are the only team this year I saw that has 3 players averaging 20 points per game. And the fact that Austin Reeves is still doing that with a guy like Luka and LeBron, who are such ball dominant, 2 of the most ball dominant players in this league, I think really shows to the jump he's taken and the confidence level too. Austin Reeves has been big time for the Lakers. So he went from a guy like early on in his career, he was like oh, hey, I don't want to, he was like the fan favorite, like as a joke almost. And now he's like, don't trade that man. Like, do not trade Austin Reeves. So,
Yeah, he's valuable, real valuable.
so yeah, that's our most improved. Sixth man of the year. And before I actually say this, I found out. So obviously there is the 65 game requirement, but I just found this out, and I didn't actually notify you of this. But guys like Chris Dunn, who could make an all defensive team, and Ty Jerome, who could be in like a 6 man of the year voting, they actually aren't allowed to qualify for awards this year because they don't play enough minutes. You have to play 20 minutes a game to qualify for awards. And like Ty Jerome's at like 19.8 or something.
Oh no, they need to redo these
So that
qualifications. That's
I
fucked
mean
up.
I think that's crazy because I mean Ty Jerome wasn't gonna win it for me for most for 6 man of the year, but
Mhm.
he definitely would be on the top 3, top 5 ballot. So which is crazy to me. Again, if any of those guys are in your ballot, that's fine. Because again, we just became aware of this, but
Mhm.
my 6 man of the year winner is Peyton Pritchard. Um, then I have DeAndre Hunter second and Malik Beasley third. Um,
Woo! Beasley third.
yeah. But Beasley probably wouldn't be third if Ty Jerome was actually able to be on the ballot. But Payne Pritchard, I mean, he for with a team that everyone says has 4 or 5 All Stars, he gets his own. Him, Derek White, and Tatum are. It's the first time that 3 players on the team have made over 253s in a year, and he's doing that off the bench. I think he started maybe 2 games this year. Um, and I mean, he's just been a super weapon for them for a team that doesn't really have the best bench in the world. And when your 2 guards like Derek White and Drew Holiday are pretty defensive, guys, it's good that you can, take him out. And you got Peyton Pritchard, who he'll give you a half court shot if you need it. So,
Man, we got another disagreement right here
oh
because
man,
I got Malik Beasley as my 6 man of the year. I understand Peyton Pritchard, averaging career highs, 13.9 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 3.4 assists, shooting about almost 41% from the three. But Malik Beasley's numbers are better. 16.3 points per game, 41% from the three. And this is the same guy who is top three in 3-pointers made behind Steph Curry, who's the greatest shooter to ever live, and Anthony Edwards, who's had a much improved season from beyond the arc. Not to mention, this is the same Malik Beasley who has set the Detroit Pistons single season franchise record for most threes in a season at 312. Who plays this the same Malik Beasley who plays for the same Detroit Pistons who were shitty last year, had the worst record in the entire NBA, to the now the same Detroit Pistons who are a top 6 playoff team and has made the playoffs for the first time in quite a while. So I got to give it to Malik Beasley, man. Historic year for the Detroit Pistons standards, and he was a huge part of that. And not only that, he got a couple of stats better than Peyton Pritchard. So I'm not mad with the Peyton Pritchard's pick, but I'm seeing what Malik Beasley's doing, man. Got to give it to that brother. 16 points per game, and he made 312 threes. That's a lot of 3-pointers right there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We've talked about Malik Beasley a lot over the recent parts of the season, whether it is from the Detroit Pistons record or the 300 plus three, only one of 3 players to make 300 threes in this year. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the reasons that the Detroit Pistons are not the laughing stock of the league anymore and have like tripled their wins from last year, have a definite playoff spot, and I think he's going to be a reason to why they are going to be so good in the playoffs. I actually thought you were going DeAndre Hunter because you loved Hunter this season too. I think when we did this earlier, I think you had DeAndre Hunter as your winner as of then. So I thought that's where you were going. But yeah, I mean, I have nothing bad to say about. I have nothing bad to say about it. The stats. The only thing that I feel like recently 6th man of the year has gone to, it's almost like the poster, like the definition is like best bench player on the best, on like one of the best team. Obviously the Celtics aren't the best team this year because of Thunder and Cavs, but like I think that part of the reason why Pritchard might get it over a guy like Beasley is just because team success, and obviously the Pistons have had a bigger jump, but obviously the Celtics have, like, I think they had finished with 61 wins. The Pistons are at I don't even know, like 40 something, 46 maybe.
I think they're 44 or 45 probably.
44, yes, they ended at 44. So but yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at it. An award that we still probably don't know too much about, Clutch Player of the Year. There's not a lot of ways to gauge this. I'm pretty sure the winner is going to be Jalen Brunson. I mean, my guys were Jalen Brunson, Jokic, and Trae Young, but Jalen Brunson ultimately taking it home because, again, every time that I'm watching a Knicks game, it's a Jalen Brunson down the clutch. They got guys like Cat, they got guys like OG who are great players, but Brunson is who manages the game, and I mean, he's the one that gets them the wins and is really setting things up in that team. So Jalen Brunson's my Clutch Player of the Year.
I got Jokic being my Clutch Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Because obviously, they're going to give the MVP to Shea, rightfully deservedly so. But 20 years from now, when people look at the 2024, 2025 stats and they see Jokic literally in 4 out of the top 6 categories in points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, and steals per game, they're going to be like, how the hell did this guy not win the MVP? So you have to get Jokic something. This guy's the 3rd player in NBA history to average a freaking triple-double for a season, and he's a center. His numbers are literally 2K-ish. 30 points a game, almost 13 rebounds a game, 10 assists, and almost 2 steals per game as well. So I feel like Jokic deserved this too. And also, when you watch the Denver Nuggets game, obviously he's the number 1 option. They're going through him. If he's not getting a shot, he's setting up players to get open shots with his high numbers of assists, or he's getting those, rebounds, those fast break outlet rebounds that leads to easy 2-pointers. So I believe Jokic has got to get an award. If it's not going to be MVP, you got to give him Clutch Player of the Year because, again, just his numbers, his stats all across the board. We're going to be looking back at this like, how the hell did this man not win something?
Yeah. I think the Clutch Player of the Year is pretty much a 2-man race. I think it's between Brunson and Jokic. I kind of put Trae Young because you have, like, for a third person, you kind of have to. But Jokic, I mean, yeah, but you get the ball in Jokic's hand in the in a clutch time game where the Nuggets are only down or up by a few points. I mean, I feel you feel good about that. The best player in the world, the best offensive player in the world, um, and getting he'll make something happen like 90% of the time. So, I mean, that makes sense. I'm really interested to see with Coach of the Year where you went. I want to hear what you had first.
This was arguably probably one of the most, if not the toughest, uh, choice I had to make because obviously you got Kenny Atkinson, Cleveland Cavaliers, 64 games. You got Ime Udoka with the Houston Rockets, who are second in the Western Conference. They won over 50 games. But I'm gonna have to, and obviously again, the Lakers with JJ Redick, top 3 team in the West as well. But I'm gonna have to go with JB Bickerstaff from the Pistons, man. I have to listen. The vast improvement that he's had with that team is no laughing matter. It is very, very impressive. This was the same Detroit Pistons team that was dead last in the East. They had the worst record in the NBA just a year ago, winning a total of 14 games. This year they won 44 games, as I mentioned, secured the sixth spot, making the playoffs for the first time. I believe the last time they were in the playoffs was like 2019. So that was 6 years ago. And they're improved from 14 wins to 44 wins. That's 30 wins. That's a 30-win difference from last year to this year. Again, it's going to be a close race for Coach of the Year. But when you look at what JB Bickerstaff has done with this team from last year compared to this year, again, you got to give it to him. I think he gets the nod because the Cleveland Cavaliers were a good team last year. They're even a little bit better team this year, but that team was in the playoffs. Again, Houston Rockets, they were in a playoff team, but they won 40-some games. You look at this team. This team was the laughing stock of the NBA to now looking like now it's like, oh, this team got some promise. Can't play around with the Pistons anymore.
Yeah, we're
So
back on the same path. I ended up going JB Bickerstaff as well. I did have when I started figuring out who was going to be my awards about 3-4 days ago. Kenny Atkinson was my number one. I think I switched it maybe yesterday because I looked at it. I'm like, man, the Detroit Pistons, they tripled their wins plus some. Like that isn't something that you don't do, especially with a new head coach and a team that, I mean, you look at the Pistons roster, like they're a fun roster, but they really don't have like Cade's been amazing. Cade's been a top 15, top 20 player in the league this year. And they got him more help, like spacing wise, but you look at some of those names and you don't think that like a Tobias Harris is going to help that much. A Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., like just these guys that are like, they're probably like the fifth best starter or a bench piece other places else, like on other teams. But this year, like, they're literally the reason, obviously, other than Cade, that this team is not the laughing stock of the league anymore. So, my two, I did end up going with Kenny Atkinson. And then my third, I really couldn't pick. So I have a tie. I picked JJ Redick and Ime Udoka because I think what they both did for their respective teams out west were just great. I don't think people thought that the Lakers were going to get back into a top 3 seed. I mean, they obviously didn't think they were going to get Luka halfway through the season, but even before Luka, they were a top 4 or 5 seed in the Western Conference. And then the Houston Rockets, I mean, I don't think anybody expected them to be a 2 seed. So they definitely they definitely did what like the Pistons did, but on a much smaller scale because I think the Rockets were an 11 seed last year. They just missed it, the play-in last year. And I thought they were going to maybe be a 9 seed or something, maybe, but not a 2 seed. Not to where in a whole jam-packed West throughout this last week that they didn't have to. They could have rested their guys in bed just fine.
Yeah.
They didn't. They even played all their healthy guys against Denver today to try and push Denver to the play-in, but they did end up losing. But still, I mean, I'm so intrigued to see what Houston does, and what Ime Udoka does in the playoffs. So.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch.
Team awards. Start with all NBA first team.
Yeah, we can start for all NBA first team. You want me to go? You start.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of these names will be universal, but I'm intrigued to see where you go with the last guys.
Okay. So for me, first all NBA, I got Jokic. Obviously, again, nothing much to be said. Triple double, the best player in the NBA. Number two, I got Giannis from the Bucks. Again, having also a career year, 30 points a game. Three, I got Shea. Again, the presumed
Mhm,
favorite for MVP. Number one leading points per game and scoring. Four, I got Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics. Again, having himself an outstanding year. Very, very underrated, too. Obviously, we talk about Jokic, we talk about Shea, we talk about Mitchell, but
mhm.
Tatum has been the model consistency just coming off a championship a year ago. And
Yep.
I got Donovan Mitchell, man. Again, number one team in the East, 64 wins. I think he deserves it. He definitely deserves it from a guy who, a lot of people don't look at Donovan Mitchell as a superstar. I don't know why. Maybe he just doesn't have, that marketing capability, but this man's averaging 24 points a game, shooting about 45% from the field, 37% from three. Numbers are not like Jokic popping, but look at his last few games: 25, 38, 24, 27, 19. So he definitely obviously is the Cleveland Cavaliers' best player, and I think he gets that nod, that final nod for me for NBA All First Team because again, he has contributed to the Cavs winning 64 games this year.
You almost convinced. So we went 4 for 5. The first
Okay.
four I got Donovan Mitchell. You're almost convincing me to put him as the fifth guy. I do have LeBron as my fifth guy for All NBA first team.
Really?
I do. LeBron 24, 8-8, basically third seed in the West. This is the. It just came out. He snapped his 20-year streak of averaging 25 more in a season, which
Yeah.
is crazy, but still a great season. Around the same points per game. I mean, obviously the Cavs had 60. They ended with 64 wins. The Lakers 50. Mm, you know what? I think you're right. I think I'm gonna make a swing.
Wow.
I think you convinced me.
There you go. See?
So I think I'm gonna put Mitchell, and obviously I'll go into my second team.
Okay.
So I'll have LeBron in my second team. I have Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Carl Anthony Towns, and I put Cade Cunningham as a second team.
I'm not mad at that.
Okay.
I'm not
All
I'm
right.
not
I
mad at
mean,
that.
yeah, I mean, again, I just talked about LeBron. The two guys in New York, Cat and Brunson. A lot of what they've done this season has been overshadowed because they went 0-10 versus the Cavs, Thunder, and Celtics this season. They didn't win a game against the top three teams in the league this year, and there are two teams with 60 wins in the East right above them. So a lot of what they did is overshadowed. Then Anthony Edwards, man, I put out a video on my channel saying that Anthony Edwards might be the best scorer in the league this year with how
Mm,
versatile he's become, being basically the best pull-up jump shooter in the league. He's attempting the second most threes in the league behind Stephen Curry, and he's shooting a better percentage from three than guys like Curry, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, like he's shooting a better three-point percentage on more attempts than all those guys. So I mean that's my second team. What was yours?
All right, so this is my second team. So we differ just a little bit. I got
Mhm,
Jalen Brunson. I got
mhm,
Carl Anthony Towns. I got Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers. I
mhm.
got Anthony Edwards. And lastly, I put in Alperen Şengün from the Houston Rockets. Again, 19 points, 10 rebounds, averaging a double-double. Houston's second team in that gutted Western Conference. Hey, man, this man, again, first time All-Star for Şengün. So this man was a reason why the Houston is where they're at. So I had to put him over your boy LBJ. I don't have
Okay.
LeBron in my second team.
Yeah, it
And it was
it's
tough. It was tough.
it's so hard
Yeah.
because Houston is one of those few like times in NBA history where their like top two, top three seed is like it's not because of one play. Like they don't have a LeBron James leading them to the two seed. They're really doing it by committee.
Yeah.
And even though I mean, Sengun has had a great season. I don't have a Rocket on any of my All NBA teams.
Wow.
Um, I'll go into my third team. My third team is Steph Curry, Domantas Sabonis, Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson, and I put James Harden.
Mm.
Curry, again, I think when we did this in the middle of the season before the Jimmy Butler stuff, Curry was not on an all NBA team because he had a horrid season in my opinion for what he's like normally done, and obviously he was getting older. I don't think anymore he's gonna miss out on all NBA because of who he is and what the Warriors have, jumped up into. But Sabonis is, he didn't make an all-star team again. I can see where like you put a Sengun or like a Zubac in over a Sabonis because the Kings are like what, the 9th seed or something.
Yeah,
And he'll put up numbers, but if those numbers don't equate to a lot, then I understand putting a Sengun in there above him. James Harden, again, we just saw him drop the Warriors down to the play-in tonight. He's still, he's a system in this league. He jumped back into the All-Star, this year after, a slowish year with the Clippers last year. But he's just been immaculate to where I had to put him back in All NBA. Jaren, he's been the Grizzlies' best player even since the Taylor Jenkins stuff. He fouls too much, though. He fouls out so often, and he has such boneheaded fouls sometimes. So it's kind of rough watching him sometimes. But and then Evan Mobley, second best player on the second best team in the league record wise, so, and probably the defensive player of the year. So that's my third team.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. This is my third team. So I got Braun, obviously. I got Steph, so that's where we agree. I got Cade Cunningham on my third team. I got James Harden because he's having a revival year. And last, I was thinking about putting Kevin Durant in, but your team impacts. What you do has to contribute to your team's success. So I ended up putting in Siakam, Pascal Siakam from the Indiana Pacers. Yep. Yeah.
What did he average this year?
He 20 points and almost 7 rebounds. But again, the Pacers, I think, are like a fifth. They're fifth in the East. Again, fourth. So yeah, so they're fourth in the East. So I'm like, hey, numbers are not eye popping, even though 27 is still very, very good in the NBA. And he was an all-star. A lot of people had Halliburton. I saw some other people's list. They had Tyrese Halliburton. I'm like, Tyrese Halliburton started off the season really, really slow.
Yeah,
the first 30 games. Come on, it has to be consistent.
He's been good as of recently, but
but not the entire season.
Pacers are also one game away from the third seed, so
that's why I had to give it to somebody from the Pacers. So I ended up giving it to Siakam. So yeah, I got Braun, Steph, Cade, Harden, and Siakam as my third team.
Yeah, the guy almost had over James Harden was Trae Young, but I ultimately gave it to James Harden because like they're similar in a way, right? They're the lead ball handlers. They get a lot of turnovers, a lot of assists. They're both buckets, but the Clippers are obviously a mile better than what the Hawks are. So
yeah, for sure.
All right. Defensive first team. I think we might have a similar 5 for defensive first team. I'll say mine. Dyson Daniels.
Okay.
Evan Mobley. Jaren Jackson, Draymond Green, and Amen Thompson.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. This is my all defensive first teams. I do have Dyson Daniels. I do have Amen Thompson. I do have Evan Mobley, and I do have Draymond Green. I got Lou Dort in as my all defensive first team.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
I was like, it was tough. Listen, it was tough, but I'm like looking at his defensive ratings, blocks per game, steals per game, averaging a steal a game, under a block per game, 0.5. But yeah, man, he has a defensive rating of 109.9 this season. I had to give it to Lou Dort, man. I had to give it to Lou Dort.
Yeah, I heard that he is the player that is guarding
the other team's best player.
Team's best player 28% of the time. Like when you think about all the switches that happened in a game, all the other pieces that are on like especially on the Thunder, they have again the best defense, one of the best defenses of all time, and they have so many good defensive personnel over there that I mean, Lou Dort he's got a workload on him all night, like
does.
every night. So yeah, I can't believe. Yeah, he probably should have been in my first team.
Was he on your second team at least?
Yeah, he is. Yes,
Okay,
he is.
so at least you didn't leave him out.
My second team though, Dort. I did OG Anunoby, Zubac, Giannis, and J Dub. You know, I got to get some J Dub in there. I've been talking about high about J Dub all year, so I had to put him in. OG he's the best defender in New York. I think Mikel's defense is becoming a little overrated with how it's been talked about recently. He's still a good defender, don't get me wrong, but I think OG is 100% the best defender in New York. J-Dub, I mean, he's done so much for what they've done again. And then Giannis, he's probably still the most versatile defender in the league. He's still a great defender. He just tasked with so much on the offensive side, especially since Dame has gone down, that it doesn't show as much as maybe you would want, but it's still there. So
Yeah, I think we pretty much kind of agree on this as well. So I got J Dub as well. I got OG Anunoby. I got Giannis Antetokounmpo on my defensive second team. I do have Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. And last but not least, I had to put Zubox in there.
yeah. Yep, pretty much the same. It just I've had Jaren in my first team. So yeah. Last thing, all rookie teams. You want to give me your first team?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you my first team. So my all rookie first team. Sorry, I don't know if you gave me the mic. My all rookie first team. I had obviously Stephon Castle in there. I got Zachary Risha. I believe it is Risa Shower or Risa Shea. How you pronounce his last name? Risa Shea.
Risa Shea, I believe.
Risa Shea. I got Jalen Wells from the Memphis Grizzlies. I got Kalal Ware or Kilo Ware or Kalal Ware. Kalel Ware, and I got last but not least, my boy Zach Edey made all rookie first team, averaging about just around 9 points a game. But I digress. But he there was again where he started sometimes for the Grizzlies because he is a big body. So I think he definitely deserved that last spot.
Yeah. My first team is Castle, Risa Shea, Kalel Ware, Jalen Wells, and then Epa Alex Sarr for my first team. I mean, Jalen Wells, gruesome injury, man, the other night.
Oh, yeah.
He seems to be all right. I think he said he had a concussion and like a broken wrist, so he's probably out for the playoffs, which is a huge blow to Memphis, but he seems like he'll be all right. Alex Sarr had a pretty slow start to his rookie year. He's probably, I mean, his defense is pretty damn good for a rookie. It just sucks because he's in Washington, who obviously they're losing every game they can. Kel'el Ware, I think, was kind of a out of nowhere jump because he didn't get a lot of minutes, but then he was, paired with Bam, putting Bam at the 4, and he kind of showed his upside. He can stretch the floor. Like he even looks a little bit like, literally he looks like Wemby. Like some people are like, when did the Heat get wet? Like he's literally like a, not miniature because he's still like 7'1", but like he's really like a little Wemby, and I kind of like it. I've become a big fan of his this season. And then obviously Risa Shea and Castle we talked about earlier, but give me your second. You can go with your second team.
All right, second team for me. I got Alex Sarr. I got Mr. Donovan Clingan from the Portland Trailblazers. I got Dalton Knecht. I got Boozles, and I was struggling with this, so I just ended up putting in. I just ended up pulling in Kyle Filipowski from the Utah Jazz. Looked at his stats: 10 points a game, 6 rebounds, 50% from the field. So I just threw him in there. So that's my second team.
Yeah, I was gonna put Connected, but really since that whole Mark Williams trade, he hasn't really been doing much for the league. Like he hasn't even been playing like in the like games where nobody plays. I think he did play today, but like the other game, I think he played like 3 minutes or something. So it was kind of weird. So I actually didn't end up putting him in, even though I know he's probably your favorite rookie. You've talked about him a lot, but
I did have 27 today, so I was like,
yeah, he did play today. That's right. I have Zach Edey. I have Yves Missy, Donovan Clingan.
Oh Oh, I forgot about him. Fuck.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I forgot about Modest. I'm not gonna lie, so he's
Mhm.
not on mine. But Donovan Clingan, I put Bub Carrington from the Wizards, and I put Filipowski's teammate Isaiah Collier, who's broken like some John Stockton assist records and stuff in his rookie year. So I've been kind of like on a like not sure with Collier because he is like he's starting over Keontae George, who I thought had a pretty damn good rookie season last year. And I was so surprised that they were just starting Collier over him. But I mean, he's been doing good stuff. So um yeah, I mean that's why he was put into my second team.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I can't. I okay. Can't argue with that. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
And now we are going to talk about the NBA playoffs. Again, the last games happened tonight. And we saw how everyone is going to be. The West is all set. There's no more moving around. We know who's in the play, and we know who's playing each other, and we're gonna talk about it, and we are going to pick who's gonna win each game and series, but we have to come to an agreement. So there's no like me saying, "Oh, I think the Pacers are gonna win," and World says the Bucks are gonna win, and we move on. No, we gotta either I've got to convince him to come on the side of the Pacers, or he's got to convince me to jump to the side of the Bucks, and that's how we're gonna do it. And we're gonna keep going until we get into the finals. So
Okay. I like
first
this.
we gotta start off with the play-in. So let's
Okay.
start off with the 9-10 Kings and Mavericks.
I think Mavericks is going home. They had a horrible season. The GM and that dumbass owner Patrick Dumont traded away their franchise. Kyrie Irving tore his ACL, so he's done for the rest of the year. Probably going to miss a significant portion of the beginning of next year. Kings have a little bit of a better roster. Obviously, Zach Levine. You got excuse me. You got Zach Levine. You got Sabonis.
Mhm.
I like their core as well. You got DeRozan. So again, even though they're a little bit older, I do have some veterans who have been in tough playoff battles. Dallas is just too injured. They don't have too many bodies. I think they're going home. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Kings to beat the Mavericks.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the fact that Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford are all back, that might be a little like it might be kind of intriguing to see. But yeah, I think the Kings are better. I think they have more talent, obviously, between Levine, DeRozan, Sabonis, and stuff. So, and I think they have enough to where, I mean, again, they don't have to worry about Kyrie, like you said, and I'm not really worried about Spencer Dinwiddie or whatever on them. Like, so I think the Mavericks go home and the Kings will be advancing to the second play-in game. But now we've got a pick between the Golden State Warriors, who fell to the Clippers tonight in a crazy overtime game, or the Memphis Grizzlies, who fired their head coach a few weeks ago.
Mm. This is gonna be tough. I'm leaning to go towards the Golden State Warriors because I think they're gonna be a little bit pissed off that they choked that game away against the Clippers at home. Again, as mentioned, they could have won that game and they could have secured their spot as a fifth seed, but they blew it. And so now they're going to be facing Memphis. But I think, the addition of Jimmy Butler, I think they're like 18-2 with Curry, Butler, and actually 18-3 when Curry, Butler, and Draymond all play together. Again, championship experience. So I think I'm going to give the edge to the Golden State Warriors.
I am too. If I'm being honest, if Jalen Wells was playing, I would have to think about this more because Jalen Wells has given Curry some hell in the past couple times they've played. And with him not being there, it's like, who is really gonna do the deed of guarding Curry? Because like you think you got you got Desmond Bain. Those two aren't really gonna do it for the whole game. The small forward is gonna be like, I don't even know. I don't even know who you would play at the small forward out there. Um, then you got like obviously Jaren and guys like Jaren, Zach Edey. I think Zach Edey is going to probably get played off the court. If I'm being honest, I don't think I think he'll probably start, the game because I think I think the Warriors will start a guy like Quentin Post or something, but I think between him and what Draymond's been shooting pretty good this season, especially as of recently. I think Edie's gonna just get played right off the court, which is a thing I think a lot of people saw when he was getting drafted. That that was probably going to happen to him in playoff series. But I agree. I think the Warriors will advance, which means that they will play the Rockets in the 2-7 matchup.
That's an
And
excellent matchup.
now we've got to determine who's going to play the 68 win Thunder in the 8 seed between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Sacramento Kings.
I think for ratings sake, I think the Grizzlies would be a much more entertaining matchup because you have Ja going up against Shea, you have Desmond Bain going up against J Dub, you have Triple J going up against Chet Holmgren. But again, I do like what the Sacramento Kings have, even though they're not the same team with Fox being there, Levine and DeRozan and Demonis Sabonis. I would like to see the Kings in the playoffs, but I think I'm leaning towards Memphis. It's a toss up though. It's a real tough toss up. I won't be surprised if the Kings win. But yeah, I'll probably just give a hair nod towards the Memphis Grizzlies because I think that's gonna be a fun matchup to watch.
I'm giving it to Memphis as well. I think they've just got the better players. I think
Yeah.
Ja and Jaren are better than whoever you deem the best Sacramento King player to be. And I know it's not just about who has the best player in the series because in the playoffs that's far from what it is. But um, I think that again, I think that might be a series where Zach Edey can play. I know I keep talking about Zach Edey like he's the best damn player over there, but like he's really like the wild card on that team. And especially if a guy like Jaren gets in foul trouble, which he very often does, then it's like him or Santi Aldama or something.
Mhm.
Since Brandon Clark is out for the year, but I give it to I do give it to Memphis. I don't Sacramento. I think they had that good year in what was that 2022 or 2023 maybe where they were the whole light the beam stuff,
Yeah.
but I think that they're going right back into missing the play in next year if I'm being honest.
I'm not mad at that. I think
So
so as well. Yeah.
all right, so we've got our West set, and before we jump into the West, let's do the same out East. We'll do the play in. The Chicago Bulls versus the Miami Heat in a 9-10. Winner goes on to the second play-in game, loser goes home.
Ooh, this is tough. Because the Chicago Bulls, man, they've really ended the season. They won the last 3 games. They're 7-3 in the last 10 games. Obviously, after the whole Jimmy Butler trade, the Miami Heat have not looked the same. Obviously, when you get, you trade away a star player like that who's got you to 2 NBA finals in the past 3-4 years. But I think Eric Spoelstra is just going to find a way. Chicago's still young. We don't know what their future roster is going to look like. There are rumors about them moving on from Lonzo Ball. They got Kobe White. So I think that this team would like to add a few more pieces. Don't know what they're going to do with Vucevic. So I'm going to give the nod to Eric Spoelstra, Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo. So I think this team is going to be able to fend off against the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, hey, pretty easy so far. I agree. I think if the Miami Heat lose to the Chicago
Oh
Bulls, I
Lord.
mean, great. The Bulls have been playing good-ish recently, which is, I guess, why they're the ninth seed. Josh Giddey is going to get paid by them now. Like, there's no question about it with the way he's been playing.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think, I mean, even though I'm not really the biggest fan of the Miami Heat team, I think Bam, Tyler Hero, get them, should win them this game. Who knows with whatever the next playing game is, but I do think that the Miami Heat should win this game.
Yeah.
Um, so the Miami Heat will advance. Chicago goes home, and now 7-8 Magic versus Hawks. This is
Ooh.
probably the most intriguing play-in game for me because the Hawks, I mean, the Hawks are here every damn year, but Orlando, to me, they're not really a play-in, like, they're not a play-in team. I think they're better than that. They just have had a lot of injuries this year. So I think Orlando wins.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, Paolo and Franz, if they're both playing, I mean, I don't know who's guarding them on in Atlanta, because, like, again, Atlanta doesn't have Jalen Johnson, who they haven't had for a long time. Shea, I guess. I mean, they don't obviously have DeAndre Hunter anymore. Um, and I mean, I guess you could point at the fact that Orlando won't have Jalen Suggs because he's been out forever.
Mhm.
But I mean, I trust Pat. This game basically comes down to I trust Paolo and Franz to get me the win over Trae Young.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. Like I said, Orlando Magic are not a playing team. Just pretty much redoing what you said. Injuries have just derailed them with Suggs missing. Wagner was missing with the torn oblique. Same thing with Carroll. They
Mhm.
started the season off really, really hot, and they won their last 7 out of their last 10 games, 7-3, even though they lost the last game of the regular season. But I'm not a fan of the Atlanta Hawks. This team is always, fiddling with the play-in, bottom tier team in the Eastern Conference. So I'm gonna go with the Orlando Magic as well. I think they'll edge it out.
All right. And then we've got Miami versus Atlanta for the last playing game. Whoever wins this will play the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 1-8 matchup. This is where I just go back on what I just said. I think Trae Young will beat the Miami Heat. I think Trae Young is better than Tyler Hero, so I like that. I don't really know. I mean, I guess Miami has guys that they could stick on Trae Young, maybe like an Andrew Wiggins or something like that. But then you put Dyson Daniels on like Tyler Hero. I like that. I'll take Dyson Daniels in that matchup. So I've got I think Atlanta beating Miami in the last playing game.
Yeah. I'm gonna give a nod to the Hawks as well too. Again, if this was a different Miami Heat team that didn't look, confused and spiraled after the Jimmy Butler trade, this would be a different answer. But yeah, I think I got the Hawks. The Hawks are just always a eighth team. They're always the last team to get into the play-in, or if
Yeah,
not, they're going home early Cancun. So I think that's just
yeah,
right where they fit towards the end of the season. So I'm
yeah.
picking the Hawks as well.
All right. Now we can start with the real first round.
Oh yeah.
Let's do. You want to start East or West first?
We could do it. We'll start with the East. Start with the
All
East.
right, East. So we'll let's go right in order. We got 1-8 Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Atlanta Hawks.
Easy, gentleman sweep. They probably take them out of 5 just to be nice. Cleveland has too much firepower. There's going to be, DeAndre Hunter first facing his former team.
Mhm.
Cleveland again, possibly the coach of the year. 64 wins. They're hungry. They got the weapons. It's going to be easy 4-1 gentleman sweep.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a real sweep.
Yeah.
Trae Young has been known to win a play-in game or win a playoff game
Mm-hmm.
versus a team, but again, it would just be a playoff game at most. I mean, the Cavs have enough defensively, whether you Isaac Okoro, DeAndre Hunter. I mean, sure, Mitchell and Garland aren't known for being defenders. Goodness, excuse me.
Good.
They, like they try their hardest to, and I think that they'll be able to contain whatever the Hawks have to throw at them. So, now we'll do the other top seed. We'll go Celtics versus Magic.
I think this will go 6. Obviously, I'm going to give it to the defending champions. They just got too many wings. Their championship experience. They have that pedigree. I think they're hungry again. Usually, you see teams when they win a title, they get a little bit like a days ago. But the Celtics winning 61 games, this shows you that they want to repeat. Tatum is having a good year. He's been talked about how underrated he's been and has been shown the appreciation by the league. So I think it's going to be a 6-game series. But I think ultimately Boston's going to win just too much to handle for the Celtics.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I kind of want the Atlanta Hawks to win that that first play-in game
What?
because Orlando's got Paolo in front. They've got two big wings, and you think on paper the team that can guard a Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown led team are guys that have two big wings. Because that's really a lot of the reason why the Celtics are, as good as they've been these past 2 years, because a lot of teams don't have those two super big wing defenders to throw at them. That's why everyone thought that New York Knicks would be the best team to rival them, because they have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, who are two big wings that defend good for their position. So, but I think I hope to God this doesn't go any more than 6. I would honestly love if it went 5 as a Celtics fan. But I think that the Celtics take it. Are you repping the Knicks for the playoffs? Who are you repping? Because I
Oh
know you're
yeah.
mainly a Nets guy, but I know that you're also New York. So is it Knicks who you're repping?
Oh yeah, of course I'm repping, man, the
All
Knicks.
right.
New York, I think it's easy. Well, it is easy for me to root with them, but I don't think it's gonna be an easy matchup because Pistons, they're given in today's soft NBA version, they're given reminiscent of the old bad boy Pistons vibe. We start with Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duran, Thompson. They're ready to get in your face. They're ready to make it physical. There's a reason why they got PJ Tucker, and you saw, I believe it was a couple games ago, they say, yo, PJ Tucker, you box out Isaiah Stewart because he is possibly, arguably, the strongest guy on that team outside of Duran. But I think it's going to be a physical, tough series. It's going to test the Knicks. The X factor is going to be Karl Anthony Towns. But I think the Knicks take it. Arguably, I'm going to give some respect to the Pistons. I'm going to say the Knicks take it in 6 games. It's going to be a tough series for them, but they'll prevail.
Man, not a lot of debating going on. I think I've got the Knicks in 6 games. And it might be surprising to some people. Say the Pistons are going to win 2 playoff games in their first time back in the playoffs since
They're a good team, man.
Since Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. But
yeah,
I mean, you look at the Knicks. I mean, Cat's another guy this year that I've been really critical of when you talk about his paint presence especially on the defensive side. He's not a good shot blocker for being the team's primary center. And I think the Pistons get downhill. Cade Cunningham can get to the basket. I mean, obviously guys like Asar Thompson and Ron Holland, that's all they do. They get to the bucket. Jalen Duren is a interior center. So I mean, that's why I think the Pistons could give them a run for their money. I mean, do I think they will win the series? It's unlikely, but I mean, if Cade is averaging like 35 and 10, and then they got someone else stepping up averaging like 20 plus, and Malik Beasley's not having a rough shooting series, same with Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris. I mean, it might be a rough first round matchup for the Knicks, but I think the Knicks should be able to handle them though.
Agree. Yeah. Let's go Knicks, baby.
Pacers Bucks.
Ooh.
Man, so I read that before we talk about this. I read that it does appear that Dame will be able to make a return at some point in the playoffs. He's being monitored. I don't know if that means he will be ready for game 1. I don't know if that means he comes back at like game 3. I really don't know what it means, but since Damian Lillard is out, I think we should just go with the Bucks without Damian Lillard. Like, we should talk about this without Damian Lillard, I think.
If the Bucks don't have Damian Lillard, Pacers are moving on. They're beating them.
I think Pacers in 6 without Dame.
Yeah, because that Dame is a big part of your offense. You didn't acquire Dame just to have Giannis playing solo in the playoffs, especially too. You don't want to lose to this team again. This is the same team that beat them last year's playoffs 4-2 in the first round. So this is gonna be deja vu all over again. Obviously, they got a little bit derailed by injuries, the Bucks, but this is gonna be deja vu all over again. If Damian Lillard does not play, possibly by game 2 or 3. They're going home in the first round, and this is a sneaky Pacers team that won 50 games. I was surprised that they won that much. They started the season very, very slow, but they picked it up. Halliburton is starting to find his groove again. Siakam has been consistent. If there's no Dame for the Bucks, they're going home in 6.
Is it crazy that if the Bucks do have Dame, I'm still picking the Pacers in 7?
Maybe just a little, probably because again they know each other so well. But if they have Dame, I'm going to go with the Bucks. But yeah, maybe just a little crazy. But I can see a reason and why.
Because obviously there's a lot of history between the play-in this year, the playoffs last year. I feel like they played oh no, they didn't play the playoffs before because that's when they lost to Miami as an 8.
I think you mentioned in the tournament. The regular season tournament, yeah, they faced each other.
Or not the play-in, the NBA Cup. I mean, Yeah, I mean, but if it does go to a game 7, there's no guy I'd rather have than like there's not many guys I'd rather have than Giannis on my team for a game 7 situation. So it's not saying that if the Bucks do have Dame that there's still no way the Bucks can win. I think there's a way that the Bucks even could win without Dame because Giannis is that damn good. But I think the Pacers, they're so deep. That they got guys like Obi Toppin, Aaron Neesmith, like TJ McConnell that just come off the bench for them. So I think this is probably the closest first round series we will have in the East. But
Yeah.
I think we both pick Pacers though.
Yeah, Pacers. Yeah, Pacers. If the Bucks don't have Dame, if the Bucks do have Dame, then I'm going with the Bucks.
All right. Do we want to just keep going with the East, or do we want to jump over the first round of the West?
We could, whatever you feel right.
Let's just keep going with the East then.
Okay.
So we'll go. So the Cavs will be playing the Pacers in round 2. It is a 1 seed versus 4 seed. Obviously, the Cavs have home court advantage in that series. I think the Cavs win this, and I think the Cavs beat the Pacers in honestly 5. I mean, I think that when you think like right, obviously the Pacers have like Siakam and Miles Turner, which is a pretty good front court on paper, but the Cavs front court is better. And then if you're talking about Tyrese Halliburton, I trust again what the Cavs have on defense to contain a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who has been up and down this season. So how about you? What's your take on this series?
I got the Pacers going home. Cavs advancing. I don't think the Pacers gonna get lucky again in the second year of the playoffs with injuries. That's the reason why they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Because when they faced the Cavs, or I believe when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals because they were injury riddled. They got through a team that was hurt. That's how they beat the Knicks. That's how they beat the Bucks in the first round. So I'm giving it to the Cavs. Better team, better coach, better overall roster. Cavs in 5.
See, you say that, but like when I look back, and this is a little bit off topic, but when I look back at the Celtics, finals run last year, I really never thought that the Dallas Mavericks could like make the finals last year. Like I thought there was no like I thought the Timberwolves, the OKC Thunder, and the Denver Nuggets all had better chances to make the finals last year. I really thought that even though the Pacers were the one team the Celtics swept it last year in the playoff run, I thought the Pacers were more scary than the Mavericks, if I'm being honest. Now they didn't play like it because we obviously swept them, but all those games were pretty much close versus the Pacers, and the finals weren't very close except for that one game that the Mavericks blew us out in. But I thought that the Pacers are really good, and it's crazy to me that I'm not saying you, but like people they still look right over the Pacers, even though again, as you can see, they were one game away from being the 3rd seed out east.
Yeah, well, I'm not looking over them, but I'm talking about last year. They got lucky. Like, I would say they got lucky, but they did get a lot of
Yeah,
luck towards their way
yeah,
because
I can give you.
Dame goes down, Giannis goes down. They beat the Bucks in the first round. Second
Yeah,
round, they go up against the Knicks. They
Jalen
faced the
Brunson.
hospital bill.
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson, broke his wrist,
yeah,
and then there was no Julius Randle. There was no OG Anunoby, so they was pretty much playing the bench.
yeah, yeah. Jalen Brunson did break. I did think that if Jalen Brunson didn't break his hand, he probably would. They probably would have won that series.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. And yeah, again, I wasn't saying you were looking over them, but I'm just saying like in general, like it's like the Pacers are like
They're a good team. I'm not
it's
shitting on
like
them. They're a
this is
good
just a
team.
magical thing when again, I mean, sure they went through injuries, but man, they fought it out with the Knicks in that series last year, man. Even before Brunson broke his hand. I mean, Nemhard had that crazy ass shot from like the logo that one game. I mean, it was great, but yeah, I mean, I still don't think that they have what it takes to beat the Pacers. But we've got my Boston Celtics versus your New York Knicks.
Oh man.
I wanna hear from you this first.
I think that if it's gonna be a close series, if both parties can stay healthy, But seeing as how the Celtics have pretty much manhandled the Knicks when they played, because the Knicks pretty much assembled their roster to match up mano y mano with the
Mhm.
Celtics, and it hasn't gone the Knicks way. I'm going to unfortunately pick the Boston Celtics in 6. I think it's just too much for them. They haven't found the ingredients. They haven't found a recipe to contain Tatum, to contain Brown, hell, to even to contain Porzingis when he's healthy and playing. Obviously, Cat is a stud within his own right. And then you got to find, well, who you going to put on Peyton Pritchard? Because Peyton Pritchard is coming off the bench and is lighting it up. So I'm going to give it to the Celtics in 6, maybe 7. Is going to be a tough series, but I think ultimately the defending champions do prevail.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, everyone knows the Knicks pretty much once they acquired Mikal, even before they acquired Cat, like they acquired Mikal, and it was pretty known that they were kind of building their team to kind of look like what the Celtics had done between having, obviously their two best players aren't their wings between OG and, Mikal, but like they're the guys that can defend, Brown and Tatum. You got the lead guard in Jalen Brunson, who's a dog. And then they acquired Cat, who he's not. I mean, obviously he's better than Porzingis, but they kind of play similar in the way that they're stretch fives. They're big. They're big centers. Um, Cat's not nearly the shot blocker that Porzingis is, but if we're being honest, they do a lot of their scoring from outside, anyways. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to make it seem like the Knicks just have no chance. I think there's a chance. I don't think that the Celtics should lose to the Knicks, but if you're telling me that if we went to a game 7 versus the Knicks and the Knicks somehow won, then I mean, again, if they were built to match up against us, it's not, I don't think the most surprising. I mean, it will be surprising, but it won't be, I don't think, like grounds-breaking if the Knicks somehow do beat the Celtics. So,
Mhm.
all right, I think the Eastern Conference Finals matchup everyone's been looking forward to: Cavs versus Celtics. Cavs have the home,
Home
um,
team, yeah, home
are
court
the home
advantage.
team in the series. Which, again, I don't know what these teams' home records are, but the Celtics did win the most road games in a season in Celtics history this year too. But I want to hear what you have to say.
I think that this is going to be a minimum 6-game
Yeah.
series. Won't be surprised if it goes 7. Cleveland Cavaliers and Boston Celtics split the series 2-2 apiece.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and here's why. I believe it was a February 28th game where I think they were playing in Boston, or maybe it was a game before that when they were playing in Boston. And the Celtics came out hot. I think the score was like 30-8, 29-8, something
Yes,
like
I
that.
do remember this game.
And they ended up losing that game. Mitchell went off for 41 points. I was like, how in the hell did the Celtics blow that? And especially with the addition of DeAndre Hunter, another team in which the Cleveland Cavaliers have pretty much assembled their roster to go mano y mano with the defending champions, the Boston Celtics. I'm gonna have to give the slight edge to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Home court advantage. You say you don't know what the record is. I got it for you right here. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 34-7 at home compared to the Boston Celtics, who are 28-13 at home. Now, I do give the nod to the Celtics having a little bit of a better road record, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are just as good as a road team as well. On the road, the Boston Celtics are 33-8. Cavs are 30-11 on the road. I
Okay.
think the slight edge is going to go to the Cavs. I think if it goes down to 7, I'm picking Donovan Mitchell. I'm picking Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. I'm picking Kenny Atkinson, and I'm picking the Cleveland Cavaliers to go. I think that game will forever stick with the psyche and the momentum of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Say, yo, we got down big against the defending champions, and we came back and won on their home court. That is also going to stick with the Celtics as well, too, knowing that they blew that big of lead against that team. So I'm picking the Cavs in 6 or 7, minimum
I
6 games.
I think you're telling me all this because I think you know who I'm going to pick in this round. I've got to say Celtics in 7. Granted, they do have a new coach. Last year we did beat them in 5. Again, that's not relevant for this playoffs. But they have a similar team. Obviously, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter are the main guys that stick out that have been a difference maker. But when I look at what the Cavs, and right, that game that you are talking about, I do remember I made a video as soon as that game ended about how the Cavs are legit this year and they are contenders. And I was so surprised. It was such a, like, even though the Celtics ended up losing, it was such a fun game to watch because I mean, I love Darius Garland. I think has one of like a top 5 handle in this league. Like, I think his handles are so underrated for what he does and the attention he gets because he's on such a good team. But when I look at how the Cavs do their rotation, they pretty much they start the game right with their full roster of Garland, Mitchell, like Max Strus, Mobley, and Allen. That is really the only time that those 4 are playing together because pretty much what they do is when they get to their first rotation time or timeout or whenever that is, like 6 minutes in, normally like Darius Garland and Evan Mobley will go sit on the bench while Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen do their thing. That's a great pick and roll threat. They've got maybe some more shooters in there. They bring in a DeAndre Hunter. And then eventually Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, they come in the game, and those two go out between Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen. Still another great pick and roll threat between Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley's taken a great confidence jump and offensive jump this year. To where he's one of the best 4/5s in this game. And then even at the end of the game, they opt to end with Evan Mobley at the 5, and then they end with like Max Strus and DeAndre Hunter playing the 3 and 4, obviously with the 2 guards as well. But from the games I remember from the Celtics and the Cavs, Jason Tatum has been given Evan Mobley that work. Evan Mobley has not been able to stay in front of him. And I think when it comes down to that, Evan Mobley is going to get switched on a lot. My Celtics do a lot of pick and roll. They do a lot of dribble penetration, kicking out to threes, which is why, right, like why the 3. Some people don't like the Celtics because of the amount of threes they take. And I think when you have guys like Jared Allen, especially, this is more aimed towards him than Evan Mobley, who's a guy that, right, like Jared Allen likes to protect the paint, but if he's got to worry about Al Horford sitting in the corner, who is a still knockdown shooter at 38, Jared Allen's going to be put to work. And then that's why I think that, again, Evan Mobley will play way more minutes because he's more mobile. He can get, he can go close out quicker. He can also still protect the paint, but sure, as good as a passer as Jason Tatum is in that, dribble penetration area, Tatum and Brown will still go dunk on you, will still go and make you regret in the paint. As much as we shoot threes and as much as we shoot, more than sometimes we shoot more threes than we shoot, 2-pointers in a game. But you think about how especially Jaylen Brown loves to get downhill and loves to finish at the rim with that right hand since he's got no left hand, according to some people. Or, Drew Holiday loves to play in the dunker spot and just slip right behind a big man when he's sitting there. I think that the fact that you're going to be playing, obviously, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, they're going to have to guard somebody. Like, with the past couple rounds with Indiana and like Atlanta, you can have, Donovan Mitchell sitting on an Aaron Nesmith in the corner, but Derek White is a much improved scorer who will, he'll dribble into a 3-point shot if you want. Drew Holiday can still make a move and get by you if he needs. Kristaps Porzingis, if he gets a smaller defender on him, we know that mid-range is money. So that's why I'm going to go with the Celtics. I do like what the Cavs have offensively with them being able to get inside the paint because, right, like a Jared Allen or an Evan Mobley, backing into Porzingis. Porzingis doesn't want to do that. I agree. I know Porzingis doesn't want to do the dirty work. He loves being that catch and shoot guy, or I want to get to my mid range. But I can admit that Porzingis doesn't want to bang down low with Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. But I think Al Horford will. And Al Horford's going to play minutes, whether he's 38 years old or whether he's 23 years old. He's going to play minutes as long as he's not hurt, and he's going to make the most out of it. So while I do think that the Cavs have some, better overall bench pieces between DeAndre Hunter, Sam Morril, Max Strus, Ty Jerome, I just can't ignore what the Celtics have been doing and how I think they can handle the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Let me ask you a question. For the Boston Celtics, who do you think is going to be the X factor in that series?
Who's going to be the X factor in that series is going to be, honestly, I mean, I want to say, like, right off the top of the mind, it comes to Derek White, but I think Derek White has alerted people to what he can do with a catch and shoot or anything. I think people are starting to sleep on Drew Holiday because he hasn't become the best. He's had a down season compared to last year, and I think he's going to be tasked with guarding. I think he's going to be tasked with guarding Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell's as small and as short as Donovan Mitchell is, he's a strong guy, and he's a fast, athletic guy. And Drew Holiday's great at guarding guys like a Curry, a Lillard, guys that are quick and can get to a jump shot real easily. So I got to say Drew Holiday, because he can still give me a 20, 25 point game in a series at one point. So I've got to say Drew Holiday.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Drew Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis. Now, since you mentioned Drew Holiday, yeah, he can defend at a high level, so they're going to put him on Garland. And you mentioned, Porzingis doesn't want to guard, can't bang with the Twin Towers of Mobley and Jared Allen. So pretty much Jared Allen alone will be able to cancel out Porzingis. So they two can cancel each other out. Obviously, Tatum and Brown, they're going to do what they do. But if you put Mitchell, or if you even put DeAndre Hunter on one of them, I think he neutralized them as well. Now you said, Mobley is not one of those mobile bigs who like to defend the perimeter, so that's going to leave Al Horford right open. But the thing with the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're also a pretty much switch team. So I was like, all right, well, if they see Mobley not being able to hang out there with Horford or one of those guys out there on the perimeter, they could also switch DeAndre Hunter, because he's a 6'8", 6'9" big body who's mobile. So I think that's going to be a weapon that they're going to try to utilize. Maybe also Isaac Okoro too is also another big body who I think is going to get a lot of playing time in this series. Who is 6'5", maybe a little bit shorter, but he is 225, so he's a big, strong forward. I won't be surprised if he's out there as well, guarding those mobile bigs. Now, Payne Pritchard, okay, you say you got Payne Pritchard coming off the bench. He's going to do his thing. I think that'll also cancel out with DeAndre Hunter. So anything that I see that the Cleveland Cavaliers have, I can look at Kenny Atkins and say whatever they do, they have the same personnel type of players to either match it or cancel it. So,
okay, but so my thing is, like, you talked about how the Cavs are a pretty much they'll switch anything team. If I'm Jaylen Brown or I'm Jason Tatum and I get a switch to where Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell's on me, I love that. I want to go. Darius Garland isn't going to be able to hold a Jaylen Brown driving. Jaylen Brown will move him right out the way. Donovan Mitchell, again, he's a stockier guy, so it might be a little bit harder. But if Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell is switching on to a Jason Tatum who loves to play in isolation and has so many counters, or Jaylen Brown who loves to get downhill, I want that all day.
I can say the same thing for the Cleveland Cavaliers too. If you get a switch, you get a switch on Porzingis on Mitchell. Mitchell swinging by him, because Porzingis, those long legs, he can't hang. He's too big, too strong. You just said Darius Garland has one of the most swiftiest handles in the league. He gets Porzingis switch on him. Even if he gets an Al Horford switch on him, he's going past him. So those two out there become a defensive liability. Now your only thing is, okay, well, we got to put Derek White in, but then they could just say, hey, okay, you put Derek White in, we counter with DeAndre Hunter. Well, we put Horford on him. You don't think Okoro's going to get open? That's going to leave Max Strus as well, who's also a good three-point shooter. Ty Jerome can knock down some three-point shots. Dean Wade. So they got some guys like, hey, you counter for this, they counter for that as well too. I just think it's going to come down to a chess piece match, and Kenny Atkinson is a hell of a coach. He was on the Warriors championship coaching staff. So he knows a thing or two about switching, because that's what the Golden State Warriors do. So if they switch, you say, well, we got the same personnel to switch with you. Now, and I think it's going to be a little bit tougher if they do switch Donovan Mitchell, because I think the only defensive liability in terms of the guard position for the Cavs is Garland. He's not much of a defender. He's probably going to get blown by, if not just, pushed over because he's not a strong guy. But if they do put, say, like a Jason Tatum on Donovan Mitchell, or Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, I think he'll be able to hold his own because he is maybe shorter, but he's a bigger, stockier guy. And now I think the X factor to me is like, can you trust Porzingis to be that 20-point a night scorer? Can you trust, Derek Wright, who has been playing good for the Celtics? Can he up his scoring to 20, 24 points a game? Because they're going to need some firepower to go up with this team.
Mm-hmm. And right, like what you say, you put in DeAndre Hunter to guard Tatum or whatever. You're talking about these things that can even it out, or maybe maybe eliminate what one guy will do. But what are the Cavs going to throw in that will put them over the what are the Cavs doing that's just not going to make them even? Because you don't win a series with somebody by being even with them. You win a series by doing something better than what the other team is going to do. So what are the Cavs going to do that is going to ultimately win them the series?
I think it'll come down to if they can make more shots, and that's going to depend on Max Strus, who's averaging 30, almost 39 points from three, who was a deadly 3-point shooter, underrated 3-point shooter, shooting about 45% from the field. Also, Dean Wade, it can be an also catch and shoot guy. He's shooting about 36% from the field. So I think they have more of the weapons, even though I believe the Celtics broke a record for most three. I think they're the team they're probably the only team in the East that can outgun and outshoot the Celtics with threes. Because if you got Hunter, you could put him on Brown. Okay, you could put Mitchell on Tatum, or maybe you put or switch those ties. Now it's all right. Well, who now is going to come down to the bench? Who on the bench can you depend on to score more than the opposite side for the Celtics? And I like Max Strus. He's no slouch scoring. Dean Wade is no slouch scoring as well too. And same thing with Okoro. Even though Okoro is more defensive minded, but he is averaging 37% from the three as well. So you got a lot of those guys who's averaging over 35% from three. It's going to come down to who makes and misses those 3-point shots. I think it's going to be a 3-point barrage in that series.
Yeah, but again, you talk about if Max Strus is that fifth starter, again, it might be Isaac Okoro, it might be whoever. If you're telling me I got to live with Max Strus trying to win me the game, or maybe Derek White on the other team, man, I'd much rather try and let Max Strus win me a series than Derek White. I'm not gonna, even though Max Strus loves playing against the Celtics when he was in Miami and all that.
I was just gonna say that.
Him and Caleb Martin, I guess, just love trying to play against the Celtics. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'd much rather have a Max Strus playing again, trying to get me a win, trying to make maybe 7 or 8 threes in a game versus maybe a Jrue Holiday who will do a lot more than just score or whatever. So again, I think this series goes 7 no matter what. Again, I don't want to make this seem like there's no way the Cavaliers can beat the Celtics, because again, they have 64 wins. But I mean, I think this, if I had to predict, other than whoever is going to be in the finals, I think this is going to be the hardest round to say in the whole playoffs between East and West. So, I mean, it's just, man, I don't. All right, the reason I think I'll give in and give you the Cavs is I'm going to turn negative and say Porzingis might miss some time at some point. Porzingis could get hurt for a game or two, or maybe the whole series. Maybe Al Horford can't, hang with, a young Evan Mobley. And then we got to rely on Luke Cornett to play big minutes or something, who's been playing fine in the regular season. But I don't know how much I want Luke Cornett to play in the playoffs. But again, I do think there is definitely a way that the Cavs win this playoffs. I don't want it to seem that this is going to be an easy 4-0 Celtics, but I think I can give you the Cavs. I think the only team that the Celtics would lose to in the East is the Cavs, or should lose to in the East is the Cavs.
Yeah.
And with what they've been doing, it's it's again, it's warranted. They have a lot. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland is one of the best backcourts in the NBA, while Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are one of the best front court duos in the NBA. And again, if you're telling me that maybe at some point Porzingis misses a game or two, or Al Horford maybe is shooting 32% from three instead of his usual 37% or something, then I can certainly see a way where the Cavaliers can win that series and advance to the NBA Finals.
It's gonna be a tough series, but honestly, I think either team can beat each other. They're
For
just
sure. I
yeah.
mean, I think it'll be the hardest matchup we will see in these playoffs. No matter you talk about the East, the West, or anything, maybe other than the finals. So,
Okay.
so we've got our finals team will be the Cavs for the East. Let's jump back to the West and talk about this first round, where we have the Thunder versus the Memphis Grizzlies.
Mm.
I'm giving the Thunder 5. I got the Thunder in 5. I think
I
Jaren can win you a game, maybe, but no more than that.
I think we agree on that. OKC in 5, just a better talented team, deeper team, MVP, better coach. I got the Thunder in 5 as well.
All right. Houston versus Golden State. Man, as a guy that I think Houston might be my second favorite team in the league. This is a rough this is a rough team to see in the first round, even though
Yeah.
I have been doubtful of the Warriors this whole season, whether it was before Butler or after. It's rough. I mean, this is going to take some thinking to do, and this is going to take a lot of work by the young guns if they want to, take down a Warriors team.
This is probably the toughest matchup that we're probably gonna debate, go back and forth on, because the same Houston Rockets team that held Steph Curry to just 3 points. Again, the only thing that's against the Rockets is that their youth. This is the first time this core is in a playoff experience, and congratulations, their first round matchup is a team that won a championship just 2 years ago. Oh, 3 years ago, excuse me, 2022.
Mhm.
But Steph, Draymond, and with the addition of Butler, his team is cooking. Like I said, they're like 18-3 when all those three guys play together. I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors do beat them because they do have experience on their side. But Ime Udoka, he whips his players into shape, man. I don't know if he puts something in their food, in their drink, or he just able to get the message across his players. Like I said, the only thing that you could go that's against the Rockets is their youth and experience. But 52 wins in a gutted Western Conference is conference. 52 wins, man, for a young team that average age is like 23, 24 years old it's very, very impressive. That is no small accomplishment right there. So honestly, this is a flip 'em. I wouldn't be surprised if Ime Udoka finds a way to get them boys past the Warriors. But I do like the personnel that they have, because again, you could put Amon Thompson on Steph Curry. He's able to hold his own, and he's gonna be a future defensive juggernaut in this league for years to come. Him and his twin brother that plays over in Detroit. You could, so Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, those guys. Oh, so I don't know. Like I said, them holding Steph to just 3 points was really, really impressive. They're not gonna be able to do that every single night.
No.
But that team is nothing to play around. So honestly, it's a flip 'em. I wouldn't be surprised if Warriors winning 6 or Rockets winning 6, but I think it's going minimum 6 games.
I'm here. I'll tell you my answer. Maybe it eases you and lets you come to a final decision.
Okay.
Maybe I'm hating. I've got the Rockets in 7. I mean, like you said it perfectly. Amen Thompson is the perfect guy I want chasing around Steph Curry. I want Dylan Brooks on Jimmy Butler. I mean, you talk about the Pistons being the bad boys of the league. I think the Rockets are a close second. Dylan Brooks will get you frustrated. He's done it to so many people over the past 3 to 4 years, whether it was LeBron, whether it was, I mean, even the Rockets and Warriors had a little scuffle with Ime Udoka and Curry their last game they played against each other. Man, I think that the Rockets have everything they need to win this series. And Alperen Şengün has given Draymond and like Quentin Post some problems when they've played. Alperen Sengun is a guy that will take advantage of having a smaller guy. He loves his little, post hook that he does. He's like baby Jokic. He's a good facilitator. He can dunk on you if he needs to, but I think I gotta go Rockets in 7.
Honestly, I'm not mad at that, to be honest with you. Like I said, this team, and people have to understand this too. The playoffs are all about matchup, and
Mhm.
this team right here, they match up very, very well against the Golden State Warriors. As you mentioned, they could throw Dylan Brooks, even though he does a lot of antics on the court, he's still a really good defender.
He
Ahmed
is.
Thompson, the best defender on the team. Fred VanVleet, we got to remember Fred VanVleet when he
Yeah,
won the championship back in 2009.
he was
He
an
gave
off
Steph Curry
guard,
hell too. He was an off guard. He gave Steph Curry some hell. So
Mhm.
he knows what it takes to beat stuff.
Right?
Again, Jeff Green championship experience. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be upset if this goes 7 and the Houston Rockets take it. So yeah.
All
Now
right.
that goes down. Draymond Green's. He said, "Well, we're winning the championship this year. If they lose in the first round, I think they might say, fuck you, Draymond. We train your ass." Making a bold proclamation like that and just to go in the first round.
So we got Rockets advancing then.
Yeah, I'm not mad honestly at either pick, but I'll go with the Rockets as well too. Yeah.
All right, Lakers versus Timberwolves. The Lakers will be the home seed. Luka and LeBron are healthy. And then obviously Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert had like a 35-point night the other day. He was like 11 for 17. Like he shot super good. He had one of his best games scoring wise of the season. Do the Timberwolves have what it takes defensively to slow down Luka and LeBron, or at least one of them in a series enough to take it home? This
I
is hard.
Yeah, this is hard. I'm gonna go with the Lakers in 6 because you talk about defensively. Who always gets exposed in the offseason who plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves? The guy out of France,
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert. And this is a guy who's won 3 defensive player of the year, I believe now 4 defensive player of the years, which is a highway robbery. We know Randall's gonna give you his 18, 20. Anthony Edwards is gonna give you his usual 25, if not 30 points a night, but it's gonna come down to the defense, and they're gonna expose Rudy Gobert like white and rice. Same thing you talked about. You surprised when the Dallas Mavericks made it to the NBA Finals. What is that infamous clip that keeps playing in one of Luka's highlights? Every time when Gobert switched on him, he just straight cook him. Crossover, step back three. I think Luka's gonna do that all night long. It's gonna be a very, very long night for Rudy Gobert. He's gonna become a defensive liability. They're gonna sit his ass on the bench, and then you're gonna have to go to what your other center. Who you gonna have to play? Maybe Luke Garza, who hasn't played that much.
Nas
You,
Reed.
Nas Reed, Nas Reed still gonna get cooked by Luka or LeBron. So hey, he's a better defender. I'm not trying to disrespect Nas Reed,
Yeah.
but so I
And
think I'm gonna go with the Lakers in 6.
yeah, and I mean obviously Luca for some reason he loves embarrassing Rudy, like you said. But I mean the other part that we're looking at, even though we haven't seen him in a playoff series in a little while, Julius Randle has the reputation of not being a playoff riser too.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
That's a
that
good
whether
point.
that was with the Knicks or wherever, but I've been talking about the Timberwolves about how they're a team you can't sleep on with what they have, but I think Anthony Edwards would need to average like 45 in this series, like for them to win. I do think that the Lakers will be able to take it, but I also think that this is a series that, again, like I said, Luca loves embarrassing Rudy, but Rudy, I think, could do some damage because I mean, Jackson Hayes is their starting center, and he's their lob threat. Rudy Gobert would protect that paint on a lob, or he'll go, and obviously Rudy doesn't have the best hands at all for a center, but with the Lakers not having a real, good quality center, Rudy could do a little bit. I mean, again, I'm trying to play like devil's advocate here and give Timberwolves fans a little bit to hope for, but yeah, I think the Lakers will get this and probably no more than 6. I would be very surprised if this went 7.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, and then I think this is going to be such a weird series: Clippers versus Nuggets. They're two like completely different teams, right? Like obviously Jokic, best player in the world at center, while the Clippers, James Harden and Kawhi, guard and forward. When you look at just best players on each team, Jokic is the best player in the world. And I mean, while the Clippers have been hot and Kawhi has been pretty damn good recently, and Zubac has been one of the best defensive centers in the league, I think this is where the Clippers season ends. Again, just like the Lakers Timberwolves series, I would be so surprised if it went more than 6 games because I mean, if this series went 6 games, that means somebody on Denver got hurt or something is going horribly wrong.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree. Even though, with the Nuggets no longer having their championship winning head coach and Mike Malone, I don't think they need too much of coaching to take care of the Clippers when you have the best player in the world. Murray, hopefully, I think he'll come back to being his older self now that he's healthy. The only X factor I think is going to be the health of Aaron Gordon. Now he's been dealing with that
Yeah.
calf or hamstring, something like that, to his lower extremities. But if he's able to go, I think that he can hold his own against Leonard or Harden. Same thing, Michael Porter Jr. Long and lengthy wing. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Nuggets in 6. I was very, very surprised with the Clippers this year, especially with Leonard missing the start majority of this season. But James Harden, Norman Powell, and Ivan Zubac have held it down. Man, Zubac's having a career year. I think Zubac will be able to get some of his own against Jokic, but he's not gonna
Yeah,
be able to
yeah.
hold Jokic. But yeah, I think Jokic is gonna be too much for them. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Nuggets in 6.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Second round. So we've got Thunder versus Nuggets.
Oh, the battle of the MVPs. I'm gonna have.
I
Oh man, yeah, go ahead.
man, it might sound crazy, but with the paint presence that the Thunder has between Hartenstein and Chet, I mean, even the Big J Will over there has been pretty damn good for them recently. I mean, I don't think he'll play too much in the playoffs, but like I've got to pick the Thunder. I can't. Nobody is going to be able to guard Shea in Denver. I don't give a damn if you put Aaron Gordon on him. I don't care if you put Christian Braun or Westbrook or something on him. You put Westbrook on him, that'll be former Thunder MVP versus probably current Thunder MVP. I've got current Thunder MVP taking that home. I know what Jokic is. I know he's probably the best offense. He is the best offensive player in the league. I've got the Thunder. Thunder in 6 because honestly, you don't want to. I don't think you want to go to a game 7 versus Jokic. So
Yeah,
Thunder 6.
they want to try to take him out as early as possible. I think it'll go 6. I agree with that. Thunder in 6. It's gonna be a tough matchup, but yeah, I think Shea is just be overall too much for Murray and for Russ, who's gonna be the main two primary defenders on him.
All right. Rockets Lakers. Rockets will be the home seed, obviously, 2 seed versus the 3 seed. I mean, we talk about having to deal with Steph Curry and how that's a pain in the ass. Having to deal with Luka and LeBron on the same team is gonna be a battle. Again, I do think that they have the right personnel between guys like Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, even Tari Eason, who we didn't talk about in the last round. Like it's crazy that I see a world where Houston could win. I don't know what my answer is yet. Do you have an answer for this?
I think, because like you said, chasing around Steph is gonna be a task for Thompson. I think he's well capable of doing that. But yeah, you got LeBron and Luca. For some reason I'm leaning more towards the Lakers. I don't know, but I wouldn't be mad at a Houston win. I wouldn't be mad at Houston win because let's look at what was the season series between the Lakers and Rockets? Did they split it? Did the Lakers win? Did the Rockets win? Let me just look that up. So I'm seeing right here. Well, damn, stat muse. I'm seeing. Okay, I think I finally get it. So I'm seeing for the 2025, there were 2-1. So the Lakers beat them 2 out of 3 times. Okay. Mm,
Okay.
they won before the trade and after the trade.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if the
Is it
Lakers do
crazy
win.
the Rockets might make a Western Conference Finals run?
I'm not mad at it because again, this team has surprised everybody. Like especially with the addition of Udoka, we thought that they were going to be like a playing team because Udoka is a hell of a coach. But like, as I mentioned, sound like a broken record. Being a number 2 seed in the gutter West with this young team, that
You
is
know what?
no small achievement,
You know what
man.
the thing that's really like making me think? The Rockets are going to outwork Luca, LeBron, and the Lakers. They are going to hustle. They are going to
Yes.
Amin Thompson, all those guys, all of them will outwork and out hustle the Lakers. I think they're going to be able to get extra possessions, whether it's an offensive rebound, steals.
Yeah, because they're gonna expose Luca on the defensive end. Because we all
They
know
are.
Luca's not defender. Obviously, LeBron is a little bit more defender, even though it's older
Yeah.
age. But LeBron is not going to sit in that chair as he used to compared to 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. So I think both of them a little bit will be a liability on the defensive end. It's crazy to say that LeBron James is a liability defensive end, but again, he's in year 22. He's 4 years old.
I will say, like, for them to make a conference finals run, Jalen Green needs to be consistent. Like,
Yes.
Jalen Green's one of my favorite players. He's so entertaining to watch, but one of his flaws is that he is not a very consistent guy. He literally, I mean, again, this was the last game of the season. He just had 2 points in 21 minutes. He was 0 for 10 or some shit like that, like, or 0 for 7. Um, and granted, last game of the year, and whatnot, but his problem is consistency, and I we need to see consistency with that. And are we going to bet on Jalen Green being consistent enough? Because again, I don't think Alperen Sengun is getting you to the conference finals alone, especially against a LeBron James, who's one of the best playoff performers of all time, and a Luca who just lost in the finals last year and got traded and is going through all this hunger and emotion. I
Now, if
don't.
you ask me about Jalen Green's consistency, his last 3 games, 2 points, 07, 15, 7 points, 3 of 10, 5 points, 2 of 7,
Yeah,
21
that's
points, 9 of 19, 34 points, but 11 of 24. And then he had a very efficient night, 7 of 15, 22 points, but then 9, 4 of 13. So if you ask me if Jalen Green's consistency is going to be the key, I'm going to say, hell no, I'm going to go with the Lakers because he is an up and
yeah,
down streaky scorer.
yeah. You might be right. As much as I think I want the Rockets to advance, I don't. I just think this is where their season ends. And hey, if it is hell of a season, I mean, if they lose in the first round, they can't be upset with what happened. Um, but I think this is where it probably will end. So I think I'm gonna go Lakers, but I'm going Lakers in 7 though. I'm not
Yeah.
just giving them the Rocket series because again there is a world where they outwork them and they just do it by committee like they've done all year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockets do beat the Lakers, like because you mentioned everything. They're gonna outwork the hell out of Luca and Braun. So if Rockets to win, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll probably give it to the Rockets. If you want to stick with the Lakers, go ahead. But I'll probably give a small edge to the Rockets. But again, if you're saying, well, if it depends on Jalen Green being consistent, then no. But if they're able to find other players to fill in that consistent scoreboard, then yeah. But honestly, either or team. If you're going with the Lakers, I'll go with the Lakers too, because I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind seeing the
I just
Lakers
again
Thunder.
I love the Rockets, but if Jalen Green isn't being consistent, I mean, the team is doing it by committee, but Jalen Green or I guess Sengun and even Fred VanVleet, I guess. Fred VanVleet would have to be on his shit and like be shooting efficiently, but Jalen Green is like he's their best scorer in Houston. Whether he's their best player or not, between him and Sengun, man, whatever, you can argue that, but he again, I think he has to be average. Like he has to be consistent and he has to average more than his like what 21 he averaged this season or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we got to go Lakers again. It's going to be late again. It's Lakers, I think, in 6 or 7. I'm not just saying they're going to take care of Houston because there's a world where Houston outworks them and they shut everybody up.
Agree.
But I think no matter what, Lakers or Rockets, whoever advances to the conference finals, I've got Thunder beating them. I mean, in again, no more than 6. I think the Thunder should be pretty confident against the Lakers or the Rockets. I think the Lakers would be harder because obviously Luka and LeBron you have to worry about. But we were just talking about Lou Dort and the Oklahoma City Thunder's defense. They can handle whoever defensively. I'm not
Mm,
worried. Thunder, whoever the hell wants to make the conference finals, Lakers or Rockets, I'm picking Thunder.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Thunder, I think we both agree. Thunder are going to the Western Conference, and that leads to the final showdown of arguably the two best teams in the entire NBA. Two teams with over 60 plus wins, 64 plus wins for the season, man. Cavs, Thunder. Who do you got winning the whole thing and hosting the Larry O'Brien Trophy in June?
I've said this all year. I'm a Celtics fan. No matter whether the Celtics do lose to the Cavs in the conference finals, like we have in this scenario, or they make it to the finals, the Oklahoma City Thunder are my champions. I simply can't see a world where I just don't think the Cavs can beat them. I honestly think, and I know we had the Cavs advance, I think the Celtics would have a better chance of beating the Thunder in a finals if it were to happen than the Cavs do. Again, it's not, I don't think the Thunder are going to sweep the Cavs in 4 or even in 5. I think it will probably be 6 games, but I've got to pick the Thunder.
I agree. I gotta go with the Thunder as well, too, man. Probably one of the most impressive seasons in a long time. 68 freaking wins for a team of young guns is utterly impressive.
It is.
Yeah, it's insane. I think this is OKC's time. I think they learned a little bit last year's playoffs, so they have playoff experience. They're a well-oiled machine, and they got better. I think the addition of Caruso and Hartenstein is going to put them over the top. That were the two missing pieces, two vets who are defensive minded. That was really what the Oklahoma City Thunder needed, and I think they just got exactly what the doctor ordered. They're a mixed balance of young but vets as well too. So I think OKC takes the cake, man. So yeah, I got OKC in 6 against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's again, I don't think the Thunder should have a problem in the. I mean, the Thunder they will have a harder time in the West than some of the East teams will have, but I think the Thunder can beat anybody out West. Again, pretty. I don't think they should go to 7 games out West. To be honest,
Mhm.
maybe the only team they go to 7 games with is Denver, but which would be in the second round, but. I think the Thunder they've been the best team all year. They've got probably the MVP this year. Again, if Chet never got hurt, Chet was the runaway for defensive player of the year super early in the season. Their defense as a whole, I mean, if you think about it, Shea's a good defender. I was just doing my Shea versus Jokic like comparison on my channel the other day. Shea is averaging 1.7 blocks, a block per game, which is more than Jokic is averaging, funny enough.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, you talk about Shea being a good defender, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, J Dub, Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace. I mean, they do not have a bad defender in their rotation. They just don't. And I mean, I just don't know. I don't see that. I don't see a world where the Thunder loses in the West at all. I mean, sure, the Cavs or the Celtic or whoever's in the Cavs could win the finals, but I think the Thunder make it to the West pretty, again, not easily, but like easier than some people think it will be that are in the media. So yeah, that wraps up our finals predictions. I think it was good. I think we did a pretty good job. We can come back when the playoffs are over and see how right we were. And see who had some good takes, who had some bad takes, see who was right in the Cleveland versus Boston series. But that's it. It's a good end. We can't wait. The play-in starts April 15th, which is on Tuesday. We'll see who makes it out of the play-in each respective conference. And then I think the playoffs start the 21st or 22nd.
Yeah, something like that.
Basically in about a week. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, guys, that's it. The end of the season for the 2024-2025 season. Also want to give a shout out to Inside the NBA on TNT. This was their last year covering the NBA, as now it would move over to NBC Sports, back over to NBC Sports after a 3-4 decade absence. And they're also going to go over to Amazon Prime, still stick with ESPN. So, man, shout out to those guys, Shaq, Ernie, Charles Barkley, and Kenny the Jet Smith, but you will still see them on ESPN, as they'll still be TNT employees, but they'll just be broadcasted on ESPN for various important games. I'll still never forgive Adam Silver for not keeping it on that show. That was the best show. What I mean?
We'll see them. I think they said they'll still get like Christmas games and like playoff time too, but they just won't be, they won't have their own, kind of segment or be on camera as much as some of us would like. I mean, again, some of them, Charles and Shaq, they can be some wild guys on the microphone, but you can't lie that they're not entertaining. I mean, Shaq and Barkley are some of, their top 75 NBA players of all time. Kenny the Jet Smith was a champion at one point. Ernie Johnson is probably one of the greatest media members for like in period in sports. He's already been inducted, I believe, into the Hall of Fame for media and broadcasting, and Ernie's really the guy that holds it down over there with those three wild guys. So it is rough to see that it comes to an end, but because it seems like they would be around forever, but business is business. So
Yep, that's what happens when you choose money over people's entertainment. But I digress. I'm not going to go over rant. Check out my own personal channel. I talked about it. But yeah, I get it. Business is making money, but it just was. I have to believe this is a decision that's going to come back and haunt Adam Silver for years down the line. But nonetheless, shout out to the Inside the NBA crew: Shaq, Ernie, Charles Barkley, and Kenny the Jet Smith. But yeah, this is it for the regular season wrap up. We'll be back here next time to talk about the playoffs as well. And obviously, we'll be here talking about the NBA Finals, which team will be holding the Larry O'Brien Championship Trophy in the middle of June. So for another episode of Hoops All In, thank you guys for watching. If you guys are also new, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like to listen to the audio version, go subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you stream your daily or weekly podcast. We're also on there. Subscribe to Keith's YouTube channel, Keith HAI. He does some great work on there as well. So again, signing off, World's Francois, Keith Bazin. We will catch you guys down the road for the NBA Finals.